Howdy everybody, it's Andy Nolch here with another KR, and this one is about David Miscavige and how he is an SP. He's a suppressive person, which means he's evil. He's an evil person. He's a person that's got a bad personality, bad characteristics. Like some people, for example, let's say me, I'm interested in UFOs. Someone down the street might be interested in table tennis. Someone else down the street might be a little bit bitchy in their personality. So everyone's sort of different. But some people, they have a lot of bad personality traits. And overall, they're a bad person, and they're evil, and they're suppressive. And they make living with them work. They make things hard. They make life bad for people who are around them. So this is something that I've been looking into for many years, I guess, and it's trying to understand who the hell is this guy, David Miscavige, and trying to work out who he is. And basically, yes, he is an SP. He doesn't even seem to be a Scientologist, which makes sense because he changes Scientology writings and he doesn't seem to be respecting Scientology. And he violates Scientology principles in the way he approaches his life, from the stories I've heard and stuff like that. Like, for example, like beating someone up who disagrees with him, as opposed to, you know, trying to handle the person with communication or something like that. And like for example, someone will misbehave, right? Or someone will be playing up who's on staff, and he might order them to do some auditing action, but the auditing action has been changed to be like a torture experience for the person. You know what I mean? Let's say a staff member's stuffed up, and the staff member probably hasn't really stuffed up. I mean, he's so unreasonable, and he just says that you're stuffed up, and then he'll make the staff member, the CO person, write their OWs, but he'll turn into like a torture device. So he twists Scientology into this perverted way, and he uses it in a bad way that's punishment for people. Which is classic as to what SPs are like and what they do. They're just really sick, perverted and evil people. And so recently I've read Ron Miscavige's book. Ron Miscavige is David Miscavige's dad. And he seems to conclude in his book that, yeah, his son's an SP. And he tells a few little instances of behaviour of what his son's done, like, for example, falsifying statistics. And he just does typical SP bad stuff. And it's just like, how the hell did he take over Scientology? Because it's just, he's totally, Hubbard never said that he was supposed to become the leader of Scientology and stuff. He literally stole it. And this is what SPs do, right? It's the one thing I respect about SPs, in that they dream big, right? And I'm not talking about the SP that's like a loser, that's messed up, that's on drugs, that's hanging on the side of the street. I'm talking about these big, successful SPs that are like running corporations and running churches, and are like top bankers and stuff, and are like politicians, like these, and secretly behind the scenes are like molesting kids and shit. Like these really big, successful ones. One thing I respect about them is that they have a postulate, and man, do they take it seriously. Like, they are ruthless. Anyway, this book by Ron Miscavige is good because it enables you to get a bit of a history on David Miscavige as a person and stuff. And I've always found SPs fascinating because their behaviour is so absurd. And I know this might sound weird, but I would love to watch, I know this sounds weird, but I would like to see an SP molest a kid, because I don't understand why they do it, and I don't understand what they say and stuff, because apparently it messes with the kid's minds, and the kid suddenly after that goes into like a split personality, and they act like demons or something like that. Like, I'm not kidding. So no, I'll just be intrigued. I'd love to like listen to it I'd just be like, what the hell do they do? And they're like, come here, let me touch you, and yeah, you're going to turn into something evil or something. Like, it's really weird, because it's not just they're attracted to kids, right? It's not just they're attracted to kids and they want to sleep with them. It's not that. The SPs who sleep with kids, they do this really weird stuff in that they like to pervert the kids and twist the kids, and they're just like, whoa. And after the kid, right, unless it's someone strong like me, or like Oprah, for example, because she got molested as a kid and she turned out normal. And plenty of people do turn out normal, you just don't find out about it. They've just got some little issue or something. But there are kids who, after they get molested, they turn into like little devils. They go into the valence of the person who molested them, and they walk around and they have split personalities, and they're gone. And so the reason why I wouldn't mind seeing it is because I would like to see what they say and stuff. I mean, it would be interesting if they actually mention stuff about the devil or sick, perverted stuff. It would just be really interesting. I'll just be like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, I find SPs fascinating because their behavior is so sick and twisted, and they are these demons and shit, and they're responsible for why we have problems on Earth and why people have to go clear and do Scientology to improve themselves and stuff, because there's these sick, perverted beings that are going around that are just wreaking havoc, right? And not all of them are pedophiles. Like, I've never heard any reports about David Miscavige being a pedophile, but some of them are. In fact, a lot of them are, and they do satanic rituals as well. So that's why I think it's really weird, because I'll be like, if an SP got a hold of a little kid, will they then do some satanic ritual and be like, Ya my God Hamacha, to my God Hamacha I grant thee, and then they pull out spells and shit. Like, I'm just thinking, what the hell do they do? You know? And then when you see the adult version of the kid who got molested, and you see how they're like possessed by entities and shit, and they switch personalities and stuff. They talk about black magic, and you're like, whoa, this person's fucked up. Like, this person messed up. It's just fascinating. It's like, what the hell happened to you? Because it's a thing psychologists know about. There are plenty of kids who, after they've got molested, they grow up as adults to be like, I don't know what the word is. Maybe it's schizophrenic or something, but they tend to act a certain way, and then psychologists go, oh, they get molested as a kid, and the psychologist is like, oh, that explains why they're acting like this and stuff. It's crazy, right? Anyway, so the Ron Miscavige book is good. It's short, and I recommend listening to it if you're interested in really finding out the truth about David Miscavige. But a lot of the stuff he talks about is stories that I've heard about Miscavige as well from other people, about evil stuff that he's done. Because he's a classic SP. He just ticks all the traits of what a suppressive person is like. Like, for example, he has no empathy. Like, he doesn't give a shit about anyone else. That's one thing about all these big SPs. Not even the SPs that are like hanging on the side of the street. Like, they don't give a shit about other people as well. I know that sounds really mean. Right, they know they act to you like, oh, give me alcohol. Or they go, give me coins. My life's such a wreck. And they're like, oh, I'm such a victim. And I'm such a blah, blah, blah. But to be honest, I mean, that person has screwed over their family. That's why their family's like left them alone. Like, I know it sounds wild, but like, and mean, that's to be mean to a homeless person, but you'll find that person's been quite selfish and has said, F you to the world. I'm just doing what I want to do, and I don't care about other people. Because if you care about other people and you've got some sort of problem, you improve yourself and you sort it out. You don't just keep on walking up to people and going, can I have $2 for the bus? Oh, can I have this? Can I have that? And then they just steal things. And anyway, they're SPs. They really are. I know it sounds mean because all these lefties are like a wussy and like, oh, you can't call that homeless person, that poor person on the side of the street an SP, an evil person. But it's just like they are. I'm serious, they are. They're just not the same as David Miscavige. David Miscavige is the real SP. Like, they are just incredible. They're amazing beings just to look at. Like, what happened to you? You're just this abomination of a person. Anyway, so they have something where they don't have empathy, so they don't give a shit. So they're happy to ask heaps of people for money, or they're happy to run a church and to pay their staff absolutely nothing, and they just don't give a shit. And Ron Miscavige mentions a time in the book where I think he asked his son which is David Miscavige, he asked him for, like, he's explaining how, you know, how his post is bad or something like that, and he's put up with it for a while. And anyone who has empathy, anyone who has a bit of a heart, like what L. Ron Hubbard had, right, would go, yeah, I'll find a new post for you or something like that, and I'll sort it out. But Miscavige was just like, I think, might have said, yeah, I'll sort it out, and then just didn't sort it out at all, and just because he just doesn't give a shit. And it's amazing because I've watched these people and their behavior and stuff, and there's different versions of this. There's some of them that are not massive SPs, they're just little SPs, and you see them in life. And I remember seeing in high school, for example, some dude getting bullied, and the SP that was doing it just didn't give a shit. It just had no concern at all about hurting this guy's feelings. Like, he just has no empathy. He can't feel what it's like to feel. Maybe it's an OT ability, I don't know, but to feel whatever someone else feels like. It's just like he can sit there and watch someone get abused, and it's just like, yeah, cool, like whatever. Like they don't. It's like they really are a first, and I noticed this. They really are just a first dynamic-y person. It's just. Their first dynamic is the only thing that exists. It's just them, and that's it. And that's why they end up becoming evil bankers and stuff like that, and ripping people off, because they don't care about the world or other people or anything. They have no heart. They don't care about the community and shit. Like, look, me, for example, I'm not very social, to be honest. Like, I keep to myself and that sort of stuff, and I don't want to be that much part of the community and all that sort of stuff, because I just want to do my own thing. But I still care about the community. You know what I mean? It concerns me shit that's going on, like socially, like as in, like there's antisocial, right? You could sort of say I'm a bit antisocial, but I wouldn't really say the word antisocial. I'd just say not social. But these other people, they're antisocial. They're against society and people and shit, and they don't care at all, and they just think it's all about me. They don't mind ripping people off. I just want to get as much money and as much wealth, and I want to be the king, and I want to be the best, and they don't care about who they harm in order to get to the top and stuff. Hillary Clinton apparently is one of these sort of people. And this is why it's like, because a lot of people, right, especially if someone was a lefty and they voted for Hillary Clinton, they'll be like, what are you talking about? Hillary Clinton's evil and stuff. And it's just like, she is, secretly. And it's just like, I know, because I was a part of a church of Scientology. I was a member for like 6 years. And I actually thought David Miscavige was a good guy, because I just saw the events and I got totally tricked by it. And people have still been in the church for like 30 years and they still don't know David Miscavige is a full-blown SP that's not even a Scientologist. He's not even a Scientologist, right? Yes, he runs the church, right? He's a part of the corporate organisation, and that he's doing a bad job of running it, like, but he's not even a Scientologist. He isn't. Apparently, behind the scenes, he'll say like the OT levels are a bunch of bullshit or something like that. So, if you're a church member, you listen to this video, just be like, what the hell, like, this is mind-blowing. But this seriously is insider info, because they wear these suits, they have people write speeches for them at events, like Hillary Clinton and stuff. They have perfect PR behind them, and they appear so professional and so good. They appear to really care about healthcare and really care about Scientology and clearing words and stuff like that, but it's all an act. They don't give a shit. All they do is care about themselves and them getting ahead. And how do they get ahead? By pretending like they care about healthcare. How do they get ahead? By pretending like they care about the books being standard tech. It's all bullshit. It's all an act. They're fake. This is how incredible it is. They're these fake people that walk around. They're con men, basically. And all it is just about them. It's incredible. And that's what David Miscavige is like. And it seems like as soon as he joined the Sea Org, he was dodgy. He was doing dodgy things. He was falsifying stats. He was trying to become an exec because he loves the power and all that sort of stuff. And he was conning people and stuff. And he dismantled... He basically sort of stole the church from Hubbard. Hubbard, it seems like, it's possible that Hubbard actually did say who's going to be in charge when I leave. Exactly who's in charge. But how do we know? That Miscavige was handling the communications coming from Hubbard, right? But it seems like Hubbard set it up so that there was no like dictator of Scientology when he left, right? But Dave Miscavige dismantled that, and because he was handling Hubbard's communications and stuff, and he was changing Hubbard's communications. I'm not kidding, right? And then he got in control of the church, and he made it more and more so that he is just a dictator and he's just the king, and he made it as if Hubbard assigned him to be the leader of the church. And when I got involved with the church, that's how it appeared. I just saw this guy at events that seemed dedicated, that seemed passionate, that looked professional, looked good, you know. And I heard that he was, and Dave Miscavige probably started these rumours. I heard that he was like auditing kids when he was 12 years old, and he was an awesome auditor, and L. Ron Hubbard handpicked him, you know what I mean? And I was just like, wow, that guy is really gung-ho, you know. I sort of respected him like the way I respect Alex Jones and L. Ron Hubbard and stuff, like these real winners that are really dedicated and stuff. And I was like, yeah. And then, years later, what do I find out? I find out that he doesn't even write his own speeches, right, for events. He has some professional writer writing them. I find out that his speeches aren't even that good. They just use lots of fancy words. Because back then, I didn't know what these words meant that he was saying in his speeches. And then when you look back over the speeches, and it's just somebody using fancy Scientology words to sound smart. But you only find this out after you learn what the words mean. You're like, oh. But I was sitting there at the events thinking like, wow, you know, like I was pissed off that he was using fancy words though, because I was like, hey, I just want to, you know, watch an event. But you know, and I find out that, yeah, he's just slipping in fancy words to sound like L. Ron Hubbard, but it's just like L. Ron Hubbard used those words because he actually was a writer and he was smart, but not in this fake way that Miscavige does it. And it's really funny because I knew someone when I was growing up, and he would do English essays, and he would do that exact same thing. He would put fancy words in there that he doesn't even really know what they mean, just to try and get an A and stuff. And he would never get an A+ because he was never really that smart, but he would actually get like B+ and I think sometimes A's, because it would kind of appear like he's smart. And he also exhibited SP characteristics as well. So they just learn to become these fake people to try and succeed and win in life, you know. They kind of remind me of a crocodile. They just sit in the water and they just eat up things, and they don't care whatever havoc they cause. They're just these monster little things. They're really these viruses, these brutal virus parasite beings that just destroy society. And so, what else? So when I find out that when Miscavige delivers his speeches, he has a see-through, you can't see it, but he has the script playing on like a teleprompter, but it's see-through. So he can see, it's good, it's really smart technology. All the TV shows and news anchors use it and stuff. And you can read this, you can read it, but it's projected into the air, the whatever they call the writing, and so it looks like he's looking at the crowd. So I remember when I was first going into Scientology, the first few years, I was like, and I was part of the church, and I was like, wow, how does he like remember these speeches? Like, he's like, wow, this, I was really impressed because it was like, blah, 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 so blah, 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 and blah, 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 so blah, 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 blah. And then I find out he's just reading it from a teleprompter. And it was like, oh, so he isn't that OT. But it really created the impression on me that he was like some OT dude that like really knew what he was talking about, and he didn't need to have any notes or anything. Because I think you wouldn't see him look down, so I was like, wow, it's impressive, he's not even looking at notes. I was just like, wow, this guy's really OT. And then you find out that he's also had some plastic surgery and stuff, like fake teeth and stuff to make him look younger. Because I was like, wow, look how healthy he looks for how old he is and stuff. Like, look how... So I was just like, whoa. And not only that, right, I also find out that he's not even as old. He's like my parents' age. I thought he was older than that. I thought he was a bit like 10 years older than that, or 8 years or whatever. I thought it was sort of part of the generation above that. I don't know why. I think it was because I heard he got, well, the age that I thought he took over Scientology like in 85 when Hubbard died and stuff. And so that would have made him, I did this myself. I added it, I didn't actually try and find out his age, but I guess assumed that he wouldn't take over the church at such a young age. because he did. That's how hardcore he was. He got in the Sea Org, he got into the Commodore's Messenger Org, and by like 23, he was already handling LRH's communications and everything, and he was almost like running the church because he was such a powerful SP, and it was just like, boom, there. Anyway, so I assumed that he was born more like in 1950 or something, not 1961 or whatever. So then when I found that out, I was like, oh, so he's not even that young. He sort of looks his age, and he's had the plastic surgery and shit. So the whole false facade of him being like this OT amazing being just washed away. And then you hear all the stories about the abuse and all the bullshit that he's done. And also he took the statistics that he pulls out of his ass, make the church look like it's winning at every event and doing really well, and then you find out that that's all like, it's sort of bullshit. It's like cherry picking statistics. So it's like any year you could just pick statistics, and if you ignore the bad statistics and pick out the good ones and just show the good ones, then it appears like, oh, you're doing a great job. And it's just like, yeah, but you didn't. Like, for example, he can go, oh, it was a great year, auditing hours were up, we had a great year of auditing. We had 1 million hours of auditing. Great year. And you watch the event and you're like, oh, you're good, Dave Miscavige. Oh, by the way, and he won't mention this, but oh, by the way, we also, the amount of money that the church received has also dropped by like 10 million or something. And like, and it's just like, hold on a second. That's a way more important statistic. Like, that's crazy. That means the church is like way less popular and way less people are buying courses and stuff. And it's just like, so, but he would leave that sort of stuff out of his events. So you can actually look at it ever since he got ever since Hubbard left the church and he got really in control of the church, because in the 80s he wasn't in total control. It was like from like 1990 onwards, he was like really in control, like a real dictator. And so you look at since then, and the statistics of Scientology have just gradually gone down. And he just did abominations like GAT1, which just was terrible for Scientology. And he changed the definition of FN, which is just the worst thing you could ever do. Anyway, I mean, to do this video, I should have gone through the characteristics of an SP and shown you how Dave Miscavige fits like every characteristic of an SP. It's just incredible, but he is a classic SP. He is just classic. And you might think, how could something so perfect like Scientology get taken over? Something that knows about the SPs, that has all these things that Hubbard put in to prevent SPs getting control, and that has, you know, people who do sec checks and look for plants and all these things, right? And you know, staff members, you know, they knew the characteristics of SP and all this stuff. You go, how could he have taken over Scientology? And it really is like mind-blowing. Is like, how did he do that? And it's just like, well, he had help with the CIA, and he had help with like the FBI and the IRS, who were all after Scientology, who were all coming after it, right? And so that's how it happened. Like like you listen to Captain Bill's debrief if you can find it, and it talks about how the church got taken over and stuff. But people were trying to hunt and kill Hubbard and stuff, and he had to go into hiding. So with him going into hiding, it was really hard for him to protect the church. And then Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue, she was sort of part of the Guardian's office, which was like the old version of the Office of Special Affairs, and they were like protecting the church. But she got sort of set up, like I think she did do something kind of wrong with the whole operation. It was an Operation Snow White. But I feel like they exaggerated it more. Like the people, like there were a lot of people after Scientology and trying to bring it down. You know, it wasn't just like a dodgy news report saying Scientology is a cult. Like, I mean, it was like Scientology was getting plants sent in, orgs were getting burnt down and stuff in the late 70s. It was a wild time. And the attacks were just too big, and he couldn't stop. I mean, the CIA were brainwashing people, doing brain drug hypnotism to people, sending them into Scientology to try and find out information and to like kill Hubbard and stuff. Like, it was serious. And also, Captain Bill's life was threatened, and Hubbard's son was assassinated. Like, it's crazy, the story, but this is how they take things over. And they probably did similar things to the Catholic Church. They probably did similar things to some big business or something like that they want to get in control of. But the thing is that they have technology, they're secret, they have, for example, if you're in the CIA, you can get passports for any country you want, you can get fake names, you can get all the cash you want, you can get brainwashing technology, all these things. So that's why, even though Scientology has this smart information, all this sort of stuff, it still couldn't be stopped. You know what I mean? Because you're going up against the CIA. This is hardcore. It's like the biggest organization in the world. Secret organization. It's incredible. They've like a history of like infiltrating governments and assassinating people, and it's amazing what they've done. Apparently they killed like the president. They killed John F. Kennedy. And they did it all, like they can get away with it. Like, it's incredible, right? And so as if Scientology could hold it up to that. You know what I mean? People just don't know, the church members don't know how hardcore the CIA, how much people were really after L. Ron Hubbard. It's just incredible, the whole story. And that's why, life is just amazing. It's just amazing what goes on. And it's really, really corrupt here on Earth. Anyway, so David Miscavige took over, and he's just an SP. He's an absolute SP. And he runs the Sea Org at the gold base, and that's like the worst place you ever want to be if you're a Scientologist. Like, if you're I'm not really doing this to wake up church members, because I just think they're so deep in there. But if you're like a SEAL person, somehow you managed to hear this, like, if you get a chance, go and try and work at gold base, and you'll realize how hardcore things are around Miscavige, and how much of an SP he is, and how he sends people around in PTS and stuff. And he set up something called the Hole, which was like where staff that he considered bad were sent to for ethics handling, and he would make them lick the floor, and he would just make them do crazy shit. And he just created the whole ideologue program thing, like, as in that apparently had nothing to do with Hubbard. Like, he literally just created it so that he wanted to make Scientology look good, and he'll be like, yeah, I made all the orgs ideal and massive, and like that could be my legacy, and people remember me for that. And it's just like, he's just a big SP. And there's also been a theory that apparently Thetans can get their body taken over. So like you can come in and you can knock the Thetan out, and you can put a new Thetan in there. And some people have suggested, and Captain Bill has said this, but he didn't say with definiteness. He just said it's a possibility that I listened to some of the stuff Captain Bill said. He was a top Scientologist who helped start the independent movement, who basically L. Ron Hubbard sort of said for him to start the independent movement. Like, literally, L. Ron Hubbard said, look, I'm losing control of the church, like in 1982 or 1980 or something. He goes, look, seems like I'm losing control of the church. If it doesn't work out, if I can't communicate with you or whatever, just go and start your own thing outside the church. Because Hubbard knew it, and in writings Hubbard warned that his church might get taken over, because he knew how corrupt things were. He used to be an intelligence operative in the World War II, so he knows how crazy the world is. Anyway, Captain Bill suggested that Miscavige could have had his body taken over by another Thetan, like an SP. And there's that possibility, right? So Miscavige originally actually was a good young Scientologist that was in a Sea Org, and then he had his body taken over. There's another, by an SP, there's another possibility that Miscavige could have been PDH'd or something like that, right? And intelligence operatives could have gotten a hold of him and brainwashed him and said, you're going to become the leader, you're going to, and they could have programmed him, because they can program these people who get brainwashed, PDH'd, pain drug hypnotism, pain drug hypnotized, and so he could have been a good young kid, and then he could have been PDH'd, and then he could have just been like, I'm going to get to the top, and I'm going to do anything to get there, and then he's like a CIA plant, and the CIA can control him. There's that option, or there's the option that he just naturally is an SP, and he just, like, any church organization or school or whatever is going to have like one kid that's like a full-blown SP. Like if you pick out a class of 100 kids and you look at them, there's going to be like one kid in that class that's like a bad guy. You know, Hubbard says 2.5% are SPs, but they could be SPs that aren't big SPs, you know what I mean? Like there's a difference. You know, not everyone's like David Miscavige or Hillary Clinton or George Soros, you know what I mean? These real big SPs, or Henry Kissinger, these are massive SPs, you know what I mean? So, you know, if you look at 100 school kids, some of them might be evil, like proper evil, but not hardcore. But you look at maybe 1,000 school kids, one of those kids could be really, really bad, and he could grow up to just be this doctor that just does crazy shit. And anyway, so, you know, you start up a church and you're bound to have some people who join it who are just full-blown SPs, and so David Miscavige could be one of those things. That's why when I was listening to Ron Miscavige's book about his son, I was trying to hear about traits of David Miscavige being bad before he joined the Sea Org, and I was really interested in that. And what I noticed is it was definitely bad from joining the Sea Org onwards, right? And Ron mentioned how his son, David Miscavige, got into some fights as a kid, and some dodgy things happened, but there wasn't enough stories that were like conclusive. It wasn't like Ron Miscavige said, yeah, at age 8 I could tell my son was messed up and hardcore and mean or whatever. He didn't say anything like that. He just said how he got into some fights and he might have done one or two things dodgy, but kids do things that are dodgy. So that's why it's kind of like, it wasn't conclusive for me to say that Miscavige is just a born SP. He could be. I mean, he could have done real dodgy things as a kid, and his dad just didn't catch him. But he was definitely dodgy from joining the Sea Org onwards. Personally, I think the body takeover thing, it's pretty out there. It's pretty space opera. I think it doesn't. I think it's probably more likely that he's like a puppet of the CIA. It's much more believable, much more likely. So, but personally, I think that Miscavige is just a natural SP. He's just, you know, just like the SP I said that I saw at school, like bullying someone who didn't give a shit. You know, he could have joined Scientology and tried to become, you know, the leader of it and stuff and gone wild and, you know, anyway, so I think that's the truth about David Miscavige. He's a natural SP. And he joined the Sea Org and he wanted the money and the power and he wanted to rise to the top, and he's harmed people and he's run the church into the ground and screwed up Scientology. Now there's no more standard tech, and it's just been messed up, and he stole it from Hubbard, and he has no sense of ethics, and he falsifies stats to make himself look better, and he's just a dictator, and he's just a classic SP. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I just wanted to say that. That's the KR. I think that's all I want to say. Yeah, I think that's all. I mean, you know, if you just look at the statistics and Scientology, it just went bad as soon as he got involved in the 80s. You can just see it, and it's classic of SPs. They just run organizations crazy, and yeah, that's it. He doesn't seem to have a good creative side to him. He's just this crazy dictator, an SP, and he sucks up to Tom Cruise and loves it. And Tom Cruise can't see through the con of Miscavige, and Miscavige is just a con man, pretends to be uptone and that sort of stuff. And I don't deny that Miscavige can get things done, but it's in this brutal way, like the same as Hillary Clinton. She can get things done. She can assassinate people. You know what I mean? Like, she's good at that. You know. But anyway, I I think that's it. So, but Scientology can do it outside the church, which is good. And the future of it is outside the church. I think that there's no point in trying to this is what the part of the reason why I decided to leave the church is I looked at it and I was just like, there's no point in trying to fix the church or reform it because it's just too much effort. It's just like, it's like you built a house and imagine you had this crappy builder and the house is just really crap, like it's really been messed up, and you think, well, I could do this and do that, but that's a lot of effort. What we could just do is just next door just build a whole new house and just pretend like it's never happened and just build a new house. Like it's going to be too much effort to rebuild. And I experienced this when I was putting in heaters actually, where a customer would come to me and say, I've got this old part and this old part and you could salvage it and you can make a new heater. And I'd think, oh, you think like, oh, this would be good because these parts are already here or whatever. But to be honest, it actually makes it a lot harder. If there was nothing there and I could just start from scratch, it would be simple and I could put it in. It's actually easier. So that's what actually I feel like what it's like with the church is it's too much to try and salvage it and fix it up. It's just like, just forget it and start a whole new thing in independent Scientology. You just start it again, pretend like it's 1950, except we've got all the tech now, which is great, and just start new orgs and just work that way and make new Scientologists. Don't bother trying to help. I mean, obviously help anyone who comes to you, but don't try and handle people who are already Scientologists or whatever. Just start from scratch. Get the advertising in, get involved in Scientology, just start all new and just do it. It's much better that way than trying to fix, trying to polish a turd like which the church is. It's too hard to do that. So that's it for this video. Thanks for listening. I've been Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy, and I'll try and get some more of those indie Scientology podcast interviews for you. Just been a bit busy recently. Thanks for listening. See ya.